Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have Lakay Umba back on. Welcome, Lakay.
Hi, Nache. How are you?
I am great. This is episode 148, so anything we mention will be in the show notes, and you can get to it by going to NacheSnow.com/148. If you have not already, I definitely recommend going back and listening to episode 144, where last month Lakay and I talk about goal setting, productivity systems, and our 2022 word of the year. And because I don't know when you're listening to this, when I say last month, I mean January of 2022. So today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to start off with some Black History stuff. So happy Black History Month, people. It's so weird because being a double minority, I feel responsible for making sure that I empower Black people, women in general. I really do get joy out of just figuring out ways to make sure that our numbers go up for things like businesses, women and minority-owned businesses, right? I mean, do you feel the same way, Lakay? Like, I feel like this responsibility, and I get joy out of knowing that maybe what I'm doing might be making a difference.
I definitely understand a desire to create an impact, and visibility is really important. So you sharing whatever you're going to share, or just by you having a podcast in general, is making it more possible for another generation of African American women who might want to start a podcast as well. I completely agree. Visibility is everything.
Right? And access to resources. So no, folks, there are two things that I'm going to link in the show notes. The first one is from the census.gov website, and the title of the article is Annual Business Survey Release Provides Data on Minority-Owned, Veteran-Owned, and Women-Owned Businesses. And this article came out about a year ago, January 28th of 2021. But it just gives some general statistics, and it's just good to know what those stats are and where everyone stands. And it really breaks it down to Hispanic-owned, Asian-owned, Black-owned, and Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander-owned businesses. And then the second article, which is really interesting, is an article from Harvard Business Review. And this article came out May of 2021, and it's entitled, Black Women Are More Likely to Start a Business Than White Men. And so the interesting thing about this is that only though 3% of Black women that have started their own businesses are running mature businesses. And the article goes into why there's this steep drop off, and it goes into access to capital and access to key resources, and is needed to be done basically to combat racial and gender disparities. And so it's just an interesting article to read because as a Black woman-owned business, it is a little bit harder to get past that 5 years of success mark than other races and genders. What are your thoughts on that, Lakay?
Oh man, so many thoughts. Is when it's hard for Black owned businesses to get the lending, then you end up spending your own money. And they always teach you, that's the first rule of business, to spend somebody else's money, right, when you're starting your business. So it creates this cycle of struggle within the Black community because, of course, Black women want to do well and have their businesses and grow, but it's that financing is so important and it's key. And you also have to have the financing because you want to combat the sometimes unfortunate stereotype that Black-owned businesses don't have it together as much as traditional or non-Black businesses. So you have to have the funding in order to make things look good. So I would be interested to see what the article says about fixing the problem, because I already knew that problem existed. All of my friends have businesses, but
right.
We're all starting from the same position. Did it have any solutions in the article?
Yeah.
I mean, awareness is important. So the fact that they even made the article is Good.
So they cite in here like the finance community, for one, needs to look beyond aiding a disadvantaged group to recognizing both the biases they bring to investment assessments and the benefit of businesses run by educated Black women in sectors that can benefit from new ideas and social impact. And they were saying that this may require educating the finance sector,
Hmm.
improving finance practices, and setting guidelines to ensure equality in funding entrepreneurs.
Well, that's good. That makes sense. The
Mm-hmm.
education piece. And I think that article is probably good for that.
And by educating the financial sector, like if you go into a bank, then they won't use some of their biases to immediately say no or set a higher standard for you to qualify for a loan.
I will say that I've seen more and more articles being written on the subject. And I think that coincides with the, what is it called? The Great Resignation.
Mm.
So Black women have been starting businesses in record numbers for, I don't know, more than a decade, I would venture to guess. But I think now with people wanting to work from home or starting their own businesses due to the result of the pandemic and the after effects of that, I think it's good that this article is coming about, and I think it's being tied into what kind of solutions we can have for a generation of people who are looking for something outside of the traditional workforce.
I agree. And then, it was interesting with the movement that happened in 2020. I think a lot of people were trying to absorb more educational material to understand how they can aid the Black community and understanding the Black community a little bit better. So for the listeners out there is a book that I recommend reading called Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. And I would say read this book with an open mind, because I can see people feeling like targeted, like, no, as another ethnicity, I don't feel this way, or I
Mm.
don't think this is happening. But really it just like breaks down some of the resource disparities, the stereotypes, and the obstacles that we, in particular as Black women, have to go through. And the point of the book is to make sure that all women open their mind, in particular women that are not Black, because the power that non-Black women wield is extreme. And so if we're not like working together in order to make things better, then we're not going to get anywhere. So I would say if you haven't read that book already, please give it a read. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. You could email me at hello@nachesnow.com just to let me know what you think of it. But for Black History Month, I ask that people give it a read and be open to some of the things that she is talking about. So last month, LaKay and I talked about goal setting and the things that we wanted to accomplish. And so what I wanted to do, and I hope this is helpful for all of you guys out there, is talk to you guys about what we've completed, what we still have to do, and then also the education piece, how we're continuing to educate ourselves. And I think what we're doing will hopefully translate to what you're trying to do in your life and just in your business too. So personal and business. So first, I wanted to start out on a positive note, LaKay.
Okay.
Which is what we actually were able to accomplish in the month of January. Giving ourselves a little pat on the back. Maybe I can find like a little clapping sound. when I
Make
do
it a
this.
Black History Month clapping sound, okay?
Right. But I'll kick it off. So for you guys out there, know that I did complete my quarter vision board. Like I mentioned that instead of doing a vision board for a year, I was going to do a quarterly vision board. And I did do that, and I posted it on social media. I will link to it in the show notes so you can see how I did it. And I did it in my journal. And so I was really excited about that, because even before this episode, I just took a look at it and it was like super clear what I wanted to get done by the end of March. So that exercise really helped me focus on what I wanted to do. What is something you completed?
One of the major things I needed to do, even before I did anything tangible, was get the ideas out of my head and written down. It seems small, but for somebody who thinks or somebody who keeps things internally, or what's the word? I live in my head. I'm in my head a lot. So I needed to get those things down on paper and put it on the computer so I could see the list of all the things that I thought I was going to be able to accomplish this year. So Nache could tell me to dash about 85% of those things off of my list and concentrate on the top 15%. So that was helpful because I will plan to do, I don't know, 10 things at once, and I don't have the time or the bandwidth to do that, even though the desire is there. So it's kind of, I mean, it sounds simple, especially to people who are super organized or that's the way you think anyway. But somebody who thinks in their head, everybody thinks in their head. It's a coping mechanism. So
Yeah.
some people are very emotive, outwardly emotive, but I'm an inwardly focused person. So I think I can think things through instead of putting together a plan. I remember one time, Nashay, you told me that I need to have a day to plan. I was like, what do you mean
Mm.
have a day to plan? Doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to sit down and do the things. It never even occurred to me to plan something. And it sounds weird because I have a planner, I have a physical planner, and I have a calendar that I stick to. So I know the things that are scheduled to do, but I needed to take the time to write things down to sort it out.
Mm.
So I did that almost all the way. That's what I
No,
did in
that's
January.
good.
That's one
That's
thing.
good. My thing, which was like huge win, I spent my nights and weekends busting my butt doing this, is I moved dreamsplansideas.com from Squarespace to
I
Shopify.
didn't even know you did that.
Yes, yes. So, everyone, yes, if you're not driving, go over to dreamsplansideas.com. Let me know what you think. If you see something you love, of course, make a purchase. And so I was really excited about that. I looked at the content from the old site, ported over what made sense, and I think it looks really good. We talked, I won't go into detail about this, but we talked about the difference between Squarespace, Shopify, and WordPress, which are our top three website platforms. And each one, depending on what you're looking for, is really good. Squarespace wasn't for me. Shopify is, even though Shopify is limited on the designs. But I think I made it look pretty good. So you guys be the judge. Check it out on mobile and desktop. If anything is wonky or doesn't work, let me know. But I'm really excited that I accomplished that, like building a new website in less than a month.
Show off. I've only been working on redesigning my website for 2 years now. And this is why you are the time management queen, and I am not. No, it looks good. It looks really good.
Thank you.
It looks very you. I see your fancy keyboard is front and center on the page.
Anytime that I could put that keyboard in a picture, it's going to be in a picture.
Okay. Do I
So
get to
what's
go again?
your next one?
Yeah, because that,
Yes.
that first one seems kind of lame now that you designed the whole website. I am proud to say that I met my bookings goal for January. My goal for the year is to shoot 50 sessions, whether that's portraits, headshots, corporate, or whatever. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do 8 in January because I was just, everything was happening and the holidays and all that. But I did hit my personal goal for how many I wanted to shoot. So I was proud of that. I got a corporate client and I went to their building and I set it up and we took pictures of all of their, what do you call them? I set it up and we took pictures of all the executives for the team because they're in the process of rebuilding their website as well. And it went really well and everybody was happy with the pictures. So that was good. And I had a couple of independent headshot sessions. So I'm happy with that.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Okay, give me another.
Okay, so this one is like a little tiny one, but if you guys remember Monique Malcolm from episode 145, where we talk about how to create a useful vision board and tips for embracing fear, well, she sent me a text this morning and she said, I just want to let you know that I'm your 1,000 subscriber on YouTube. I was like,
Oh,
finally!
yay.
Woo! Okay, you guys, it seems like a little thing, but I've been gunning for 1,000 YouTube subscribers.
I don't think that's little at all.
So I'm so excited. And I haven't, you'll hear when we talk about things we need to do, I haven't been posting any of my like planning videos or maker videos on there yet, like next steps for this month. I've just really been posting my episodes, which usually doesn't move the needle too much because it's audio only versus video. So I'm just excited that people have continued to subscribe, like subscribers have trickled in, even though I haven't done any actual videos in a little bit. But more to come. So if you want to subscribe and see like a Notion video coming out, and I think I might do a bead video and a journal video in the next month or two, go over to youtube.com/Nache Snow and be subscriber 1001.
I'm sorry, did you say bead video?
My YouTube channel, you guys, is like a little bit of a hodgepodge, which is probably why it's slowly getting subscribers, because you have to love journaling, making, and business to want to subscribe to it. But I have a video on there how I did that beaded hanging planter thing.
Mm, okay.
And I still have a lot of wooden beads left, so I want to make either another planter or another something for the house, like a decorative piece that maybe you like hang off the door or put on your desk. I probably have, yeah, another wooden bead video in my future.
I love how you have time to design a website and make beaded crafts and record it and put it on
Well,
YouTube.
well, this one was an old one. So last month I didn't have time to make
Okay.
anything and record it. So that did not happen simultaneously.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, anything else for you?
Yes. I made a goal to connect with 80 people per month to for marketing purposes, and hopefully some of the people will trickle down to purchasing or booking a shoot or something like that. So one of the things I did last month was to create a marketing email to my former clients from 2021. So I did that and actually went really well. I made a really pretty email. I did it through Flowdesk and I got good feedback from it. So that was exciting because
Mm.
usually I have a more one-on-one relationship with each client. But as my client list grows, it's hard to keep in contact with them individually like that. So when
Mm-hmm.
I created that email to say, hey, thank you guys for 2021. Here's a little something for you. I hope to see you back in 2022. And I got good feedback. So I'm looking forward to continue to do more things like that for my current clients.
I love it. And for those out there, if you've been listening for a while, you know I love Flowdesk. And so I believe they're still offering a discount if you go through people's affiliate links. So if you go to nachesnow.com/Flowdesk, I think you'll get 50% off for a period of time. But I also want to highlight that it is a woman owned business.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it's two women are the co-founders of that business. So if you want to support a woman-owned business that is in that kind of tech space, right? Email marketing software, definitely check out Flowdesk.
And it's beautifully designed and it's easy to use.
Yes. This is like a little tiny goal, but if you just knew how demanding my 9 to 5 is, you would know that this is like a little small feat. Is I continue to publish the podcast, even though I hadn't batch recorded yet. And that's really hard because what that means is I was interviewing the week that I also had to edit and post an episode. And it doesn't seem like it's a lot of work, but anybody who is in the podcasting or video game, whenever you're dealing with audio and video, it's a lot of work. I was just really proud of myself that I was able to get a few more episodes out. Know that after this episode, I am going to do a little bit of a pause to give myself a chance to catch up so I can maybe record 6 or 7 episodes before I start again, and I can batch record, batch edit, and that just helps me out tremendously because since I was editing week by week, that was the reason why I couldn't create any YouTube content because that also requires a lot of heavy editing. I'm really trying to think through how I'm going to put out all the content this year. And And so part of doing that is taking just a little bit of pause, like I normally do. Usually I have a few little breaks before I start back up the podcast again. But if you haven't heard already, I had and some amazing people on, from a natural dye text artist to a virtual assistant coach, which I'll talk about in a bit, to another business coach, and she talked about generating sales, money talk. I've just had a lot of amazing folks on this season, season 9. So if you haven't listened to them, definitely have a listen. And for the next season, I have a lot of cool people too, because some people just weren't available until February because of things going on in their businesses. I am really excited about the list of women that I have lined up to bring on next time I start back up the podcast. So stay tuned. All right. So what's your next one? Did you have a next one?
No.
Okay. No, that's good. I mean, I only have one more, which is a tiny one.
All your tiny ones are really like big ones though. So
No. I booked I think one of the ones I said when we talked last is I wanted to make sure that I booked some vacations for the year, some big ones
oh
and
yeah.
some small ones.
Hmm.
And so I did book a mini one where I'm going to Ocean City for the weekend. So that's just a small win, but a win. So that's what we were able to do, which I feel like is a lot
Yeah, it is
because
only February. And it was funny when you reached out to me and said, let's do a look back on all the things we accomplished. I was like, it's only been a month, but that's exactly what we were supposed to do. We need to go back. And so we can stay on track and look back and retrace our steps. So good. I think we're doing good.
I think so too. A few things that still need to work on before the end of this first quarter. Some might get done this month and some might get done next month. But first on my list, I already mentioned it, but I need to batch record future Studio 78 podcast interviews. And so I have a bunch of notes out now. And so probably the next 4 weeks, that's going to be my focus.
I decided that I was going to beef up my social media, but I decided I was going to go with Pinterest because I personally love Pinterest and I spend more time on Pinterest than I do on anything else. But my Pinterest board has nothing to do with my photography business whatsoever. So I started revamping it, but I really want to maximize it for business and hide all of my other boards that don't have anything to do with what I'm trying to promote. Nobody needs to see what kind of cake design I like this week. You know, I'm obsessed with saving food photos and interior design, but it really wasn't in line with my business itself. That's one thing I really have to do. And along those same lines, this was a yay and a nay, a good and a bad, because I started experimenting with Facebook ads. And I tell you what, if you haven't done a Facebook ad in a couple of years, it is not the same beast. It is completely
Mm-hmm.
different. And you really have to know what you're doing. So I experimented with a Facebook ad. I ran 3 of them, like a A/B test type thing. And it wasn't successful. So I had to go back to the drawing board. So I think I'm going to move that effort over to Pinterest instead and just focus all of my efforts on that one medium. Because if I like it, I'm sure other people like me will like it.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that because two things. Like, one thing I'm going to take off of my to do list since you already covered it, and it's on mine too, is to focus on Pinterest more as a promotion tool. From everybody I've been listening to on podcasts and the articles that I've been reading, Pinterest is where it's at, especially since there has been so many changes with Facebook ads. And so, not only will the ads on Pinterest help promote my products, but also just in general that organic traffic by putting more pins, in particular idea pins, which one of my past guests talked about, onto Pinterest, I think will really move the needle. And if you listen to episode 146 with China Benton, she talks a little bit about that because not only does she help people start a VA business, but she also helps people with their Pinterest. So just like you, I think that is a focus. And then, what you were saying about Facebook ads. So Claire, who does the Get Paid podcast, she is pivoting her business away from Facebook ads and going more into coaching people about how to market their business. So I thought it was
Mm.
interesting that she's changing her whole business model where she's putting Facebook ads on the back burner. So it's something to be said to what you just said.
I can see why they're pushing it so hard that it's becoming diluted. Like when I'm scrolling through, every fifth post on whatever platform I'm on is an ad for something. So now my
Mm-hmm.
brain is starting to check out, like, oh, it's an ad. Let me scroll up or keep going. So as the times change and as people spend more time on devices, there's always going to be some way to monetize whatever device or whatever kind of program that we're using. So I think what she is doing is staying ahead of the curve. But really, for me, I just don't understand how these ads work anymore. So it was not easy at all. It wasn't a one or two or three step process. It was very involved. So I would either have to take like a legit Facebook ad design course or move on to something that I understand.
Yeah. So my next one is Notion. You guys, I won't even get into Notion. I can put some links into so you guys know why I love Notion so much. But I'm going to do a couple things with Notion. First, I need to clean it up because I have like all my to-do lists in there and some stuff is just like old and out of date now. And in our last episode, okay, I talked about that I'm going to do the 30, 60, 90 method. And so for anybody who checked that out, and I'll link it again in the show notes, you have these three buckets like learning, performance, and personal. Performance, I'm changing it to business. So you have learning goals and learning actions, performance goals, performance actions, personal goals, personal actions. And so I want to add those into my Notion and then create tasks off of them. And so, for example, a business goal would be increase digital sales, and then the action to that goal will be start setting up Pinterest ads, right?
Hmm.
Personal goal, learn new tips and tricks in Notion, and the action might be read Reddit strings and watch YouTube videos on Notion. So I just want to put those learning business, and personal goals and actions all in my Notion. I want to make sure that my to-do list and all that are cleaned up. And what this will help with is I do plan to do a YouTube Notion video, just something simple to get people started. And then I also talked about potentially doing like a productivity course, and Notion is going to be somehow combined in that course. So I need to like clean up Notion, see the latest features out there so then I can move forward with some of those endeavors.
Yeah, Notion is on my list as well, only because I'm still trying to figure out the best way to use it for me. It's such a big program. But what I did move one of my to-do lists over to Notion because I had too many sticky notes on my phone. I'll go
Hmm.
to my notes section. I had to scroll, scroll, and scroll. So I did manage to move one over, but I would like to really dig into Notion as a planning tool. So that's one of the things I need to work on. So I'm waiting for your video so I can learn how to use Notion finally.
Yeah.
It is so amazing. It You could put pictures in there and organize things and make things aligned, and I like the way it looks, but I have to figure out how to use it.
Well, that's always a trick. I was like watching something the other day, and I think someone even mentioned this on the podcast too, that the problem is people have all this software, Notion and
Hmm.
Flowdesk and whatever else that you might have, but no one takes the time to learn how to use all the software they're paying for, to take the time to learn how to utilize it to the best of its capabilities.
Hmm.
And then by doing that, we're paying all this money for code schedule, whatever, but we're not even using it to its fullest capability. So it's almost like taking a learning day or blocks of time during the month to actually sit down, watch videos, and learn how to use all this software that we know will help our business.
It's almost software overload, though.
I
I'm like,
know.
Nache, I really don't want to learn another program.
I know.
After I learn Notion, that's it. I'm
I
done.
know.
Because I was a big Trello fan.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
still, I still like my Trello. So, but Notion, I think, is going to beat it, but I just have to figure out how to use it.
And now sometimes people use a combination, but then that could get to be a
It's too
little
much.
much too. Okay, so what's your next one?
So as far as the 12-week year is concerned, I think where I went wrong is I didn't start reading it until January of this year. So it already started. So if I intended to start my 12-week year in January, then I would have need to have read it in December because there's a lot of pre-planning that happens before you actually go into your steps.
Hmm.
So I started reading it and I'm like, oh, okay, well I have to actually pre-do some work. So I even though technically I could start my first week this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
February 14th or whatever. It just feels weird.
Mm.
So I don't know. So anyway, I need to actually complete the steps for the 12-week year. And so I read it since we last spoke, but I need to do all of the steps and actually plan everything out. And if anybody's reading the book, they'll see what I mean. Just because I'm reading it doesn't mean I can just jump into this being week one. I have to plan out exactly, like you said, this
Mm-hmm.
is my main goal. These are the steps I need to accomplish them.
No, that's a good, yeah. Laying out the plan is
Hmm.
very important. Next on my list is still finding a VA. So I mentioned I had China Benton on episode 146. Show notes for that at nachesnow.com/146. And that was a good conversation. And I talked to her about how a business can use a virtual assistant, how a business can prepare, how one can look for a virtual assistant. So that was very timely. And it was funny. She reached out to me, and usually sometimes I get requests, and I can tell people haven't really even listened to the podcast and they just don't fit for the podcast. Or when I go to their website or their social media, I can tell they're just not ready yet to be on the podcast, or something just wouldn't flow in the program of things. But anyway, when she reached out, I was like, wow. She's like, I told her, I was like, this is amazing timing. And so it was really good talking to her. And at some point, I need to buckle down. But the thing about it is, I'm going to be super picky because this is someone who is doing things for me in my style. And so this is going to be, I ain't even going to lie, y'all. This is going to be hard. I've looked at probably over 20 VA websites. And so far, nah. Because if I don't even like the website, then then I'm like, they're
Oh
not
my
going
gosh,
to.
Nache, listen.
I'm a design snob, so I'm like, I need them to have.
But
I know what you're gonna say. It doesn't matter because if they're doing editing or whatever, then it doesn't matter. But I need them to have the same style and vibe and dedication to good design and UI that I do. I gotta have it. It might not make any sense, but it's because I'm weird like that. So
you
I'm
call,
still searching.
I send a silent prayer to whoever's profile you're researching at the moment. She's judging you. She's totally judging you.
It's just so personal, right? This is someone that I might end up talking to on a weekly basis.
And their
That
website has to be good for you to talk to them.
their website has to be good. I would love to see like videos of them on social media, just so I can get a sense of their personality. If they're like a fun person, I mean, this is going to be someone who, yeah, who will potentially grow with me. This is a lot of pressure to put on someone. And as you all are listening at home, I know how ridiculous this sounds. Okay, don't judge me. I will come back to reality at some point, but don't judge me. Don't do it.
I think you're within your rights to what you like.
Thank you.
I mean, is it asking a lot? Sure it is. But you deserve it.
What's your next one?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I am working on revamping my 40 over 40 collection where I was inviting 40 women who were over 40 years old to come and take a special photo shoot. And I was speaking with one of my clients who's in real estate, and she's in high-end real estate. So I got some new perspective from her where it was like, maybe you should make this more of a invitational type shoot where you also do like a profile and then it's like bragging rights. So at the end of the year, they have something to say. They can invite their clients down and all of that. So that's still in the works. And that's what my ad was for Facebook anyway, before I did the
Mm.
revamping that I didn't get any connection with. No bookings. I got some clicks. I got a lot of views, but I didn't get enough. I didn't get any bookings from it. So I still have time to revamp it. All of my marketing materials are done. I might have to change some wording. But actually, I am curious about what you think of that. Initially, it was any woman who felt like they wanted to participate in the photo shoot as a way to make themselves feel better versus women who might be upstanding citizens in the community who might want to use it as an opportunity to promote themselves and their business. And at the end, either way, it was going to culminate in an exhibition where the photos were revealed. But her standing was, if you make it exclusive, it's more about bragging rights to you can market to your clients and feel important,
Mm.
and it would be invitational. So I would seek the people that I wanted to and invite them to the opportunity versus making it open to everyone and hoping that they would come in.
Yeah, I would seek the people too.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when you cast a wide net, especially for that first group of people that you mentioned, that I'm paraphrasing here, so they can feel better. I mean, if they're already feeling bad and they're not feeling very photogenic, I don't think you're going to have a high rate of success on that.
I'll take that.
But if you seek out women who you think will be perfect for it and they're already like women out in the community, I would go
Just
that
wish you
route.
had told me this a year ago when
But you had,
I'm
I
kidding.
couldn't. You had your plan. You had
You're
your,
right.
see?
You're right. And I needed to go through the experience because I am, as much as I listen out, I'm also hard headed. So I would have done what I wanted to do anyway and then
Anyway.
complained about it afterwards. So I've done it one way. So I'm going to try this next way. So
I like
that
that
is really
way.
something I need to buckle down. I'm not going to build the website in 2 weeks, but maybe I can redo some of the.
Step it up. Step it up.
Right.
Okay, my last one that I will mention, because I already mentioned to you guys that I'm going to focus on YouTube with now my 1,000 subscribers. And you already know that I need to now book my large vacation. The other thing that I need to do personally is search for a home, but I won't even get into that, but I continue to do that. But and when I say a home, like someplace to buy, but that's ongoing for the year. But the one big thing that I'll end this with, the to-do list for this quarter, is my freaking newsletter. And this is
Mm,
one for you too, okay? So we
it
are
is.
both ending on this because I wanted to really send out more newsletters last month, but because of the podcast and my hours and everything like that, I never got a time to really sit down and generate a newsletter for the business newsletter and the productivity newsletter. So I really want to focus on that this month, and I have some ideas. And if you're not subscribed to my newsletter, go to nachesnow.com/newsletter. You can click productivity or business or both. And a lot of people will reply directly to my newsletters and tell me how much they liked it or whatever. But even if you don't like it or you wanted to see more, please reply to the newsletters because I want to know what content is resonating with you. And I'm going to try a few different things and formulas over the next month or so. And I need to hear from you to make sure you're getting what you need depending on which newsletter, of course, you subscribe to.
Yeah, I think sometimes people don't realize it's people on the other end of your newsletter. So they're
I
like, I'm
know.
not going to reply. Nobody's going to read this, but she will actually read your comments
For
in your
sure. I
newsletter.
mean, I've had people be like, oh my God, these templates are amazing. And I'm like, Flowdesk. I could see which, using metrics, like Flowdesk has metrics, and I can see which links people click on the most. So that also helps me know. For example, I know people love when I make book recommendations. So I try to make book recommendations because I see that link is clicked on. And so, but yes, there is someone at the other end really trying hard to make sure that the newsletter is beautiful yet useful. So reply, even if you just say, hey,
Hmm.
I'm an
Great job,
extrovert.
Nache. You
Exactly.
did it.
So you need to get on your newsletter game too.
I need to create a funnel. Is that what it's called? A funnel?
Oh, yeah, I've got my funnels set up. That
I
I
do
do
not.
have set up.
I
You
don't
need
have a
to set
funnel.
up your funnels. Yeah. I need to probably re-look at my funnels, but those are so key because For those folks that don't know what a funnel is, essentially, like for LaKay's website, as soon as you would subscribe to it, she might have 12 to whatever emails already set up to go out automatically without her even thinking about it, leading you potentially to a sale or whatever it is, right?
What's keeping the lines of communication open so you're not forgotten.
Right.
So I might send out, I think I
And it
do a
leads
pretty
you
good
to a
job.
sale too. It's okay to say
Oh,
that.
sorry. Yes. But I told you my word of the year is, did I say connection? So
Yes.
connection in the hopes of leading to a sale, right?
I know. Well, I only teased you about that because I think, especially we as women, sometimes are like, "Oh no, no, we're not trying to sell you anything. We just want to talk to you, and we want to send you out just some useful, free information." Nah, girl, we need them sales too. We got. Can we?
Well, I
This
want to
takes
stay
a
top
lot
of
of
mind.
time.
Yeah. I want to stay top of mind so that when they think of
Yeah.
a photographer, they're not, I don't want you all searching. I want you to, you already know me.
Yeah. Okay. So just wrapping up here, just really quickly, I just wanted to talk about education because I think education is really important. I'm not going to talk about health because we can maybe do that next time because I ain't dead jack. So, but with education, I'll say again, I already talked about it at the beginning of the episode. My book last month was Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. It was a great read, and I definitely recommend that you guys give it a listen or read it. I'm Audible for everything, Audible and Libby. But I also read last month a book called Noise, and it's the title is Noise: A Flaw in Human Judgment by Danielle Kahneman, I think is his last name. It took me a while to get through the book, like a couple of months because it's dense, but it is just an interesting look at how we as a society make decisions. So it goes into judges that maybe they might be more lenient at the beginning of the day versus at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
how that kind of impacts communities of color. I mean, when you listen to the book, it might upset you.
I've heard that.
But it's an interesting read depending on what kind of books you like. It might be take a little bit to get through it, but I think it's worth it. Any books? Did you read any books?
Oh, great. Now you've read a book and designed a website in January.
I read two books. Two
Oh,
books.
oh, that's right.
One was a continuation from 21, so we can technically say one.
No, I do mainly audiobooks right now, and Maya and I are into Sisters Grimm. I think that's
Yeah,
what it's
oh,
called.
the audiobooks are books. That
I
totally
know, but
counts.
I haven't done anything educational.
Oh,
Um,
oh, oh.
so we're just listening
Oh,
to
for
those
sure.
to that series. But and when I'm in the car, I listen to podcasts. So I do need to investigate some books. I don't know if I want to listen to these heavy books and be over there drifting off the side of the road while I'm driving.
Yelling at people.
How dare you? It's terrible.
Well, the next thing I was gonna say, I have been listening to some podcasts too. I love listening to A Beautiful Mess because it's just like a super light podcast
Hmm.
about home decor and family and stuff like that. And then occasionally they also throw in business, which I absolutely love, and how two sisters have been able to build this enterprise, which
Hmm.
is amazing. I have listened to a few episodes of the Get Paid podcast, which I referenced earlier. And that one's always really good too because she dives into like actual numbers with women businesses. Like the one I'm listening to now is with Jerisha Hawk, and it's entitled 1.4 million in revenue, but 1 million in profits. I learn a lot from podcasts. So I just, of course, don't. I do a podcast, but I consume tons of
Hmm.
podcast content too. What are some of the ones you've been listening to?
One that I'm listening to that's kind of off the beaten path for my line of work is The Joy of Marketing.
Mm.
It's the person who runs it. I think her name is Simone Soul.
Mm.
She is actually a life coach. So everything she's
Mm.
talking about is how to market to life coaches, but it's so many things are in alignment with what I do because of the way I interact with my own clients, my own subjects. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been really helpful. And it's about making your marketing less laborious and making it more fun so it doesn't feel like too over burdening when you're trying to get it done. That's part of my problem. I think about marketing. I'm like, Oh boy, here I go. Let me go do a reel real quick and make it look cute and point at things and dance to music, but I don't want to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about how to be authentic with your marketing techniques and be joyful with it. The other one I listen to is the Portrait System podcast.
Mm.
And that one is all about how they interview photographers, portrait photographers, about their business from beginning to end. I'm all into that. How did you do it? What did you do next? And that's
Mm.
very exciting. I listen to that one all the time. And of course, yours. So those are
Thank
my
you.
top three. Oh, well, I'm one of your 1,000 subscribers too to your YouTube page. You can thank me for that too.
Yes, thank you, Lakay.
You're welcome.
You have been part of my growth. No, those are two good ones. I'll put all of them in the show notes, and I like what you said about the joy of marketing because when you look at like those Instagram or TikTok videos, and then they have people like dancing, and then they're pointing to words. I'm like more of a talking head, and that's
Mhm.
just like my style. So it just needs to work for the audience I want to attract because
Mhm.
you do not. I repeat, do not want to see me dancing because instead of getting educated, it will become like a spoof, like a little fun video that'll go viral because people will be like, oh my God, wow.
Come to mention it, I don't think I've ever seen you dance.
And you do not want to. Any of my friends listening to this podcast from Chicago back in the day, people from when I was in high school, they will say, no, it was bad.
Wow.
'Cause
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll mention is well, two things. One, I've put stained glass on the back burner a little bit because that's a hobby that I picked up last year. But because I'm trying to get all the things together for this first quarter, it's all about prioritizing. And so know that when you are trying to figure out how to give yourself more space for the things you want, sometimes you have to sacrifice things. So for me, my sacrifice is stained glass, even though I love it, but I'm hoping to get back into that quarter two.
Just had to go to my old studio and pack up all of my glass and my supplies. Like, I'm not using this right now. Everything's going to be fine. We'll come back to it when I get space for it. But it was so sad because all my
Right?
glass is so pretty. It's so
But you
pretty.
will come back to it because as soon as I come back, you're going to be like,
That's
mhm.
exactly when. That's exactly
You'll be
when.
like, I can do that better. Let me get started. And then I am gonna make space this month for some Skillshare and Domestika classes. So, for example, for Skillshare, I always save the ones that I want to take. And when I look at my list, like I have on my list visual note taking layout, and there's like a graphic recording one and a realistic paper cut illustration in Procreate. Those journaling and working in Procreate with illustrations, it just brings me joy, and I try to find ways of bringing it into the things I do. And if you don't follow me on Dreams, Plans, Ideas on Instagram, check that out because it's a little different than the Nache Snow Instagram because that's where I'm showing like my journal stuff. And then I just bought a course, and then you're gonna roll your eyes with what I'm gonna say, okay? But I just bought a course from Domestika called Vintage Illustration for Engaging Children's Books
Oh,
because I want on my bucket list.
oh,
I want.
don't even finish that sentence. Don't even finish that sentence.
It's been on my mind for a while of doing a book, and I don't know if it's going to be a children's book that's for my nieces or if I'm going to do an adult book that has like a fun style of a children's book. But yeah, I want to do it. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'm just taking some few little courses, just
I
some
don't think I
some
can roll
things.
my eyes any harder than I am right now. And the reason why, not that Nashay is a wonderful illustrator. I know whatever book she designs is going to have some flowers and woodland creatures on it because that's just her style and it's going to be green. But you have how many hobbies now?
I know. I know. I can't help but
You can't
this is
stop
the
it. You
thing.
can't.
I can't help myself. But this is the thing about it is I am this could be 3 years from now. What I'm doing is I am just educating myself into becoming a better illustrator. And vintage illustrations are, I'm like a vintage gal. I'm just educating myself.
Oh, that's it. Okay, we'll see. I've created a new children's illustration website in 2 weeks.
No. That's not my focus right now. This is just something fun just to get the creative juices flowing, my friend. Are you taking any courses or doing any coaching this month?
You know what? I'm glad you asked because I think what I'm going to do is step outside of my norm and do some one-on-one coaching with some photographers or, well, yeah, photographers. Traditionally, I am a course person. I buy them. I enjoy watching them. But my problem is I just buy them and I watch them. So
Mm,
if I
mm-hmm.
have a coach who is specific to photography and I've identified a couple that I want to work with, then that's a step I need to further my business because again, I'm trying to do it all in my head. I'm like, oh, I can do it. All I need to do is Google and find a class and I'll learn it. I'm good at learning. I'm great at learning. But I want to work with somebody who can help me find my areas of weakness so I can strengthen them so my business will grow. I think that's the direction I need to move in.
Like your areas of opportunities?
I'll take that. That's a positive spin. Yeah. Areas of opportunity for growth. That's what I need. And I also want to this year attend a large conference, a
Mm.
large photography conference. I haven't done one of those in a long time. And when I went, I was very shy and introverted. I didn't talk to anybody. So I want to go and actually make connections with people when I go. So there's a couple in Vegas that I want to go to. So I'm putting it on my list of things to do by the end of the year. Is go to a major conference and to meet with a portrait specialist who I admire.
Nice. I know I'm so bummed I'm not going to Craftcation this year, but I just didn't know what this year would bring, and I
Hmm.
would have needed to commit last year. So I'm
Um,
hoping, you know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping to commit to going to Craftcation in 23, but it is, I always find conferences to really be great places to network and just to get you fired up and inspired to move your kind of business forward or
mhm.
whatever you're trying to do, business, career, creativity forward. So nice. Hmm. Hmm.
Thanks.
Well, folks, that's really a wrap. If you've stuck around this long, I feel as though you are really invested into making sure that you figure out your plan and that you have some ideas to execute your goals and that you are going to execute your goals, my friends. Know that I did briefly talk last episode that LaKay and I were on about me doing maybe some one-on-ones, but I didn't even bring that up this episode because I'm still trying to do all the other things and I don't want to spread myself too thin. So I'm not even going to put that out in the newsletter yet. But of course, if you are interested, email me at hello@nachesnow.com and we can see what that looks like. But anyway, as always, LaKay, this has been good. I feel inspired.
I feel exposed. I feel like these people know what I'm up to now.
They do. And they're going to hold us accountable. And if we don't follow through, they're going to be like, that's interesting. I remember last year they said X, Y, and Z, and they did nothing. Nothing.
Fine.
Yeah. And for all of those out there that are listening, please support Black businesses always, but in particular this month. March, of course, will be Women's Month. And please always support women and minority businesses, but even give them an extra little boost in their special months. It's so important that we as women are supporting each other regardless. And it's as simple as sharing someone's information or sharing someone's business with someone you know will love what you're doing, or it could be actually purchasing from that business. So whatever it is, please make sure that you support another minority owned business because minority is ethnicity and gender. So support. All right, show notes for this page are at nachesnow.com/148. As always, if you love this episode, please share away. Rate me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Give me a thumbs up on YouTube subscribe on YouTube.
1001.
Exactly. Or wherever you are listening. Be sure to follow Lakay on Instagram at LakayUmba and your website, lakayumba.com, which will be updated one of these quarters.
Oh, wow. Wow. That
I
hit me
just
in the
called
heart.
you out. I just called you out. Thanks again. All right. Till next time.